Decoded.
Hey bookworms, welcome back to Book Decoded. Today, we're strapping on our spacesuits and rocketing to the Red Planet with The Case for Mars by Robert Zubrin.
It's not just sci-fi fantasy.
Yeah, get ready for a wild ride. This is a practical roadmap for making Mars a human reality.
What's truly captivating about Zubrin's work is that he envisions Mars colonization happening not centuries from now, but potentially within our lifetime.
Within our lifetime, wow.
He meticulously lays out a plan tackling head-on the very concerns that keep most of us earthbound: radiation exposure, perils of zero gravity, and even the psychological challenges of such an audacious mission.
Right, and he does it all with a healthy dose of optimism and a can-do spirit that's downright contagious.
Yeah.
It's like he's not just presenting arguments, he's inviting us to join him on this incredible adventure. Okay, so before we get lost in the Martian dust, let's break down this Mars Direct plan that forms the heart of his book.
Mars Direct is all about efficiency and affordability. It throws out the window those expensive and complex ideas like building massive space stations or interplanetary motherships. Instead, it proposes a single heavy-lift launch that sends a crew and their habitat directly to Mars. Think of it like a one-way ticket with a return trip plan built in.
Direct flight. No pit stops at the moon or anything.
Yeah.
It sounds almost too simple to be true.
Well, that's the beauty of it. By simplifying the mission architecture, we cut down on the cost of complexity dramatically. But here's where it gets really clever. Zubrin proposes using what's called in situ resource utilization.
In situ what now?
It's a fancy way of saying living off the land.
Okay, I'm all about sustainable living. But how do you live off the land on a planet with no breathable atmosphere and, well, nothing growing?
That's where Martian chemistry comes in. The plan involves utilizing resources already present on Mars, like water ice and carbon dioxide, to create fuel for the return trip. We're talking about building a literal fuel factory on Mars. This eliminates the need to haul tons of fuel from Earth, which would be incredibly expensive and logistically challenging.
So we're essentially creating a self-sustaining Martian outpost. That's some seriously forward-thinking stuff. But before we start packing our bags, why Mars in the first place? I mean, space is vast, right?
You're not wrong, but Mars holds a special appeal. It's the most Earth-like planet in our solar system.
Okay.
Think about it. We've got abundant water ice, carbon, nitrogen, even the potential for geothermal energy. Plus, it boasts a 24-hour day-night cycle and an atmosphere, albeit thin, that offers some protection from those pesky solar flares. It's like Earth's rough-and-tumble cousin, just waiting for us to come say hi.
But let's be real for a second. There's some major concerns about Mars, those what-ifs that make even the most adventurous among us hesitate. Zubrin dives right into those fears, starting with the radiation issue.
Absolutely. He tackles it head-on. Using hard data to show that while radiation exposure is a legitimate concern, it's not the showstopper many believe it to be. He compares the radiation dose you'd receive on a 6-month Mars mission to, say, a year spent working as a flight attendant.
Oh, okay.
A manageable risk, especially when you weigh it against the potential rewards.
Okay, that's a helpful comparison. So it's not like we're stepping into a radioactive microwave oven up there.
Not quite. And what about the zero gravity problem? We've all seen those videos of astronauts returning to Earth with weakened bones and muscles. Well, Zubrin has an ingenious solution for that, too. He proposes using a tether system connected to the spent booster stage of the spacecraft. As the booster and habitat spin around a common center of mass, it creates artificial gravity during the journey.
Wait, so we're basically turning the spacecraft into a giant spinning carnival ride. I
Uh,
love how he's using simple physics to solve complex problems. It's like he's MacGyvering his way to Mars.
that's a great way to put it.
I try.
He's thinking outside the box, finding innovative solutions that are both elegant and cost-effective.
But what about the psychological impact? Being cooped up in a metal can for months, millions of miles from home, that's got to take a toll, right? I mean, even a weekend camping trip can test relationships.
Zubrin acknowledges the mental challenges, but he argues that humans are incredibly adaptable and resilient. He points to examples like soldiers enduring prolonged deployments in wartime, or explorers braving the unknown on long sea voyages.
Right, people facing extreme isolation and hardship, but driven by a shared purpose. A mission greater than themselves.
Exactly. And think about the crew selection process. We'd be sending the best of the best. Individuals carefully screened for their mental fortitude and ability to work effectively as a team. Plus, they'd be united by this incredible goal, this shared dream of setting foot on another planet. That sense of purpose can be incredibly powerful.
It's like the ultimate team-building exercise.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've addressed some of the practical hurdles, but what about the why? Why bother with Mars at all? What's the grand vision that makes all this effort worthwhile?
Zubrin paints a picture of Mars as a new frontier, much like the American West was centuries ago. He sees it as a proving ground for human ingenuity, a place where we can push the boundaries of technology and establish a new branch of civilization.
So it's not just about escaping Earth's problems, it's about expanding our horizons, both physically and intellectually.
Precisely. Zubrin argues that becoming a multi-planet species is vital for our long-term survival. It's about spreading our eggs across multiple baskets, so to speak. And Mars, with its potential for terraforming and self-sufficiency, is the ideal place to start.
It's like taking that giant leap for mankind. But this time we're planting roots and building a new home among the stars. It's a vision that truly captures the imagination. But of course, even the grandest visions face real-world challenges. Zubrin doesn't shy away from the political realities that have kept us grounded so far. He dives into the history of Mars exploration, the fits and starts, the grand pronouncements followed by budget cuts and shifting priorities.
You hit the nail on the head. Zubrin is quite critical of past presidential initiatives, which he sees as lacking the necessary commitment and sustained funding to truly make a Mars mission a reality. His point is, we've had the technological capability for decades, but the political will hasn't always been there.
It's almost like we need a bold, game-changing idea to shake things up, to inject some much-needed momentum into the whole Mars endeavor. And that's where this Mars Prize concept comes in, right? This is where Zubrin takes us beyond the realm of government agencies and into the world of private enterprise.
The Mars Prize is a radical idea, but a fascinating one. It's essentially a massive incentive program, a reward offered to the first private organization that successfully lands a crew on Mars and brings them safely back home.
Okay.
Think of it like the X Prize, which spurred the development of private spaceflight, but on a much grander scale.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this could be a game changer. But how would it work in practice? Would the government just hand over a giant check to whoever shows up with a Martian postcard?
Not quite. Zubrin suggests that the government would establish a series of prizes, not just for the ultimate goal of a Mars landing and return, but for achieving specific milestones along the way.
Ah, so it's not an all-or-nothing proposition.
Yeah.
There are rewards for making progress even if you don't win the grand prize.
Exactly. This encourages more players to enter the game, from scrappy startups to established aerospace giants. For example, there might be a prize for developing a reusable Mars lander, another for demonstrating in situ propellant production on a smaller scale, and so on.
So it's like a series of stepping stones, guiding development in the right direction and incentivizing innovation at every stage.
Precisely. And each prize would have a specific set of criteria and a predetermined payout, making it clear what needs to be achieved to win. This creates a transparent and objective framework for competition.
And I imagine it also minimizes the risk for taxpayers, right?
Yeah,
The government only pays out if the goal is achieved.
that's a key advantage. It shifts the financial risk from the government to the private sector while still providing a powerful incentive for innovation and progress. Zubrin believes that this approach could dramatically reduce the overall cost of a Mars mission.
Okay, I'm intrigued. But let's talk numbers for a second. Zubrin proposes a grand prize of $20 billion. Is that really enough to entice private companies to take on such a monumental task? I mean, we're talking about sending humans to another planet and bringing them back alive.
That's where Zubrin's argument gets really interesting. He believes that the actual cost of a Mars mission could be significantly lower than what traditional government estimates suggest.
You're saying it could be done for cheaper than we think. How is that possible?
He argues that private companies, unburdened by government bureaucracy and able to make quicker decisions, could streamline the design and development process. They could also leverage existing technologies and shop around for the best deals rather than being bound by government contracting regulations.
So it's about cutting out the red tape and embracing a more entrepreneurial approach.
He cites the cost per pound of developing advanced fighter jets as a benchmark and argues that the Mars Direct hardware is comparable in complexity. His point is, if we can build sophisticated fighter jets for a certain price, why should a Mars mission be orders of magnitude more expensive?
That's a good point. It's all about applying lessons learned from other industries and finding creative ways to cut costs without sacrificing safety or effectiveness.
And don't forget, the Mars Prize structure allows companies to start small, winning smaller prizes to fund their development as they work towards the ultimate goal. This creates a virtuous cycle of innovation and investment, attracting more players and driving down costs.
It's like a snowball effect, gathering momentum as it rolls along. But beyond the technical details and financial incentives, there's something profoundly inspiring about the Mars Prize concept, isn't there?
Absolutely. It taps into that fundamental human drive to explore, to push the boundaries of what's possible. It's about reigniting that spirit of adventure and innovation that has propelled our species throughout history.
It's like we're on the cusp of a new era of space exploration, one driven by private enterprise and fueled by the dream of reaching for the stars. But let's not forget, even with the most ingenious plans and the most motivated entrepreneurs, getting to Mars is still going to be an incredibly challenging endeavor. What about the human element? What kind of people would we send on this mission? How would they cope with the isolation, the confinement, the sheer enormity of the task?
Zubrin dedicates a significant portion of the book to addressing the human factors of a Mars mission. He emphasizes the importance of careful crew selection, rigorous training, and fostering a strong sense of camaraderie and purpose among the team. He argues that the astronauts who undertake this journey will need to be not just technically proficient, but also mentally resilient, emotionally stable, and able to adapt to unexpected challenges.
So we're talking about the ultimate test of human endurance and ingenuity. It's almost like sending a group of explorers on a voyage to a new world, only this time the new world is an entire planet.
That's a great analogy. And just like those early explorers who set sail across uncharted seas, the first humans to set foot on Mars will be pioneers in the truest sense of the word. They'll be facing the unknown, pushing the limits of human knowledge and experience, and paving the way for future generations to follow.
It's a daunting prospect, but also an incredibly exciting one. It makes you wonder what kind of society and culture would emerge on Mars. Would it be a utopia, a chance to start fresh and build a better world? Or would it simply mirror the flaws and conflicts of Earth?
That's a question that Zubrin leaves open for us to ponder. He believes that the challenges of establishing a new civilization on Mars would force us to confront fundamental questions about human nature, social organization, and the kind of future we want to create. It's an opportunity to reimagine our relationship with our environment, with technology, and with each other.
It's like a giant social experiment, but with the stakes raised exponentially. And speaking of raising the stakes, let's talk about terraforming. Zubrin doesn't just want to visit Mars. He wants to transform it into a more Earth-like world. That's where the science fiction really starts to blend with reality.
Terraforming is a bold concept, and it's certainly one of the most captivating aspects of Zubrin's vision. It's the idea of taking a cold, arid planet and turning it into a world with a breathable atmosphere, liquid water, and even the potential for life as we know it. It's like playing planetary architect on a cosmic scale.
It sounds almost too fantastical to be true. But how would we even begin to terraform a planet?
The key is to warm Mars up and thicken its atmosphere. Remember all that frozen carbon dioxide trapped in the Martian polar ice caps and beneath the surface? If we could release that CO2, it would create a greenhouse effect, trapping heat and warming the planet.
So we're essentially giving Mars a planetary fever, but in a good way.
Precisely. And as the planet warms up, more CO2 would be released from the soil, further amplifying the greenhouse effect. Zubrin suggests various methods to trigger this warming, from orbital mirrors reflecting sunlight onto the poles to factories on the surface releasing potent greenhouse gases.
He certainly doesn't lack ambition. But let's say we could pull this off. How long are we talking about? Would we see a lush Martian landscape within our lifetime?
Well, terraforming a planet is no small feat. Zubrin estimates that it could take centuries to fully terraform Mars, to create a world with a breathable atmosphere and liquid water flowing on its surface.
Centuries. Wow.
It's a multi-generational project, a long-term investment in the future of humanity.
Wow, that's a humbling thought. It really makes you think about the kind of legacy we want to leave for future generations. We're not just talking about a quick trip to Mars, we're talking about creating a new home for our species.
And that new home, Zubrin argues, would offer incredible opportunities. Imagine vast spaces for settlement, agriculture, even new forms of government and social organization. It's a chance to learn from the mistakes of Earth and create a more sustainable and equitable society.
It's a vision that truly sparks the imagination. But are there any potential downsides to terraforming? I mean, wouldn't we be messing with a whole planetary ecosystem?
That's a valid concern, and Zubrin addresses it head-on. He acknowledges that if we find evidence of existing Martian life, especially anything beyond simple microbial life, we should prioritize studying and preserving it. However, if Mars is essentially barren, then he believes that terraforming is ethically justified, both for the benefit of humanity and for the potential to spread life throughout the solar system.
It's a fascinating ethical dilemma, one that forces us to think deeply about our role in the universe. But I think Zubrin's main point is that we need to start having these conversations now as we venture further into space.
Absolutely. The decision to terraform Mars shouldn't be taken lightly. It requires careful consideration of the scientific, ethical, and philosophical implications. But Zubrin firmly believes that the potential benefits for both humanity and for life itself are too significant to ignore.
Well, the case for Mars has certainly given us a lot to think about. From the practical details of getting to Mars to the grand vision of terraforming it into a new Earth, it's a book that challenges us to dream big and to consider what's possible when we combine human ingenuity with a bold vision for the future.
Zubrin isn't just a scientist or an engineer. He's a visionary who inspires us to believe that humanity's greatest adventures are still ahead of us. He reminds us that we're not bound to this planet, that we have the potential to become a multi-planet species and to shape our destiny among the stars.
And that's a powerful message to end on. So to all our listeners out there, keep looking up, keep exploring, and who knows, maybe one day you'll be among the pioneers who set foot on a terraformed Mars. Until next time, keep those imaginations firing, and remember the future is out there waiting for us to reach for it.